proves this man does not give a damn about the people who he claims to be his life's work. Because let's just take a moment, like, forget about Dr. Sophie Chandauka. I think she's great, right? I think she's amazing. But let's just say she was the worst person in the world. Harry, you know who you were withdrawing the funding from. Why did you always talk about how brilliant Sentebale is? Because it is a charity, a practical charity, a large-scale charity, a locally grounded charity that supports vulnerable children and young people from the age of 0 to 24 in Lesotho and Botswana, focusing on HIV-related health in particular. And you are saying to those people, Harry, because of your personal row with Dr. Sophie Chandauka, because your wife treated her like a piece of crap, you were saying to those people they're not deserving of Princess Diana's money?
I need you to do something for me right now. It is free, it is easy, it is simple. Just hit that subscribe button on YouTube. That's because over 50% of you watching this video haven't done that yet.
And of course, the way that this guy stays on side with Harry and Meghan, and the reason that Dr. Sophie Chandauka did not stay on side with Harry and Meghan, is because it's all about performative acts of kindness which big up the Sussex brand. Because what else could suggest the fact that he's gone public with the fact that these elephants have been named Archie and Lily? It's ego. It's all about ego. This is not about good work. It's about Harry and Meghan's ego. And Dr. Mike Chase strokes the ego, and Dr. Sophie Chandauka refused to do so. Anyway, he went on to say the Duke has a very strong passion for the Okavango Delta, Botswana, its people and its wildlife. I'm deeply grateful that he is supporting us through the Diana Memorial Fund. It means a great deal to us and to the elephants we are working so hard to protect. We wanted to pass on that legacy to the kids in the hope that his passion for Okavango and Botswana would rub off on them and to allow them to monitor the elephants in real time across the world. Archie chose a blue collar for the elephant named in his honour, while Lilibet chose purple before they were deployed across the plains of northern Botswana. And Torre Bakahe adding, if you can read this, don't worry. If you can't, it's garbage PR. It's about dumb Prince Harry redirecting 5,432 in charity cash. Yes, £5,432, a pathetic figure, considering he's just lost £30 million plus on his latest vanity litigation. What an utter dork. And P. Dinah, that's the thing for me here. The funding involved is tiny. It's tiny. It's meaningless, actually, in this case. Like, it's meaningless for Sentebale, £5,400. But this is about vengeance. It's about Harry taking vengeance. It's about him seeking revenge on Dr. Sophie Chandauka and thinking that the way to do that, P. Dinah, is to punish young babies, young children in Lesotho, many of whom are suffering from health conditions like HIV. I mean, what does that tell you about this human being? Do you see what I mean? It's like, this is such a bigger story about what Harry has become, about how vengeful he has become. And I agree. Diana would have said, look, I love the elephants, but no, you spend that money on the children. Okay, right. This is my name, my legacy. The elephants, that's your thing. You know, put your hand in your pocket, Harry. £6,000. You've got £6,000. You might be running out of money. You've got £6,000. You pay that for the elephants. Let's keep this money going on the children. That is what Diana would have wanted. I put it to you, P. Dinah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I also think, that kind of money is not a lot in the big scheme of things, but it would go a long way for children in Africa, right? And Harry, to me, it just looks like he is just abandoning the children. What about all the relationships that he had with the children from this charity? The close relationships. And that's what Harry does. He abandons these children that are in big need for, things that they're going through. And Harry knows that. I mean, let's not also forget Coco, the young girl that he had, the whole reason why he started this charity that he abandoned when she grew up. That's what Harry does, because he is selfish. It's not about the children and the close relationship that he had with them. It was about how good the children can make me look when I take pictures with them and make it look like I care for them and that I'm doing things to help them. No, they're there to make you look like you are the savior of these poor black children. The reality is, you don't care anything about these children. And we know your mother would have. And Harry is just a disgrace, the way he just goes around the world trying to make himself look like he is the good guy when he really isn't. And what this proves to me is that he is not the good guy. He is not the guy that wants to do the right thing for the children. He wants to do it to pump his ego and to make him look like he is the savior and he is the good guy. The reality is he is scum. That's what Prince Harry is. He means no good at all.
100%. It is just such a horrific decision, isn't it? And actually, P. Dinah, it really also shows how small his world is becoming, don't you think? I mean, we constantly hear the talk of Invictus and Scotty Little's Helpers, and now this is, an elephant charity. And God, I love elephants, P. Dinah. So I am not saying that Dr. Chase doesn't have a very important job, and that is not a very important charity. But let's just think of the ambition on them leaving, on their Mexitin in 2020. The ambition was changing the world. The ambition was going big. Mm-hmm. And actually everything has become so much smaller now. And they're having to cling on to a very tiny group, really, of charities, because no other charity today would want to associate with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. It's like they ran their own charity, Archewell, into the ground, so much so that it has effectively been shuttered.
Yeah, because there's no foundation. There's no goodwill foundation that this couple had for anything. It was to use people. It was to use charity to build their brand, to make them look good. You can run a charity with the fact that people that will absolutely donate, and they were donating. And I think the problem is because their brand was tanking so badly that they didn't even want to continue the charity because, we're not doing well and our charity is just not doing well because there was no foundation for them to do well at anything, because it didn't stand on goodwill. It stood on them using it for personal reasons to help them make money. And everything that they do, everything that they have touched has died. It's no good. And that's a good thing, because I think it should have taught them something, that you shouldn't try to use charity to build a brand. You need to do goodwill because that's what's in your heart to do. And they've proven themselves to be nefarious characters who don't really have, real true goodwill in their hearts like Diana did. And so they get what they have gotten only because they just never started with a good foundation for anything. Just like the marriage is not on a good foundation, that's going to implode next. It is, like, and it's like,
Pete Dinah, we all know that if Meghan Markle had not been in the picture, Prince Harry's relationship with Dr. Sophie Chandauka would have been a positive one. He would have accepted her advice. There would never have been that personal fallout that came on stage when Chandauka was so brutally and unnecessarily and bitchily and childishly snubbed by Meghan Markle. And it caused all of this. So actually, the problems within the marriage remain at the heart of all of these fallouts. Like, I think Harry previously would have got on very well with Dr. Sophie Chandauka. This was clearly Meghan.
Yeah, he had been doing it for years. And then as soon as Meghan comes into the picture, everything goes down. Everything goes to crap, right? So she is the factor of all of this. And this all came together because of a marriage that is not on solid ground. It's spilled over into the charity work. And you see what happened to the charities. Their charity, Archewell, what happened to Sentebale, right? That is what happens when you put that factor of Meghan into the equation, right? And so we know what's going to happen with the marriage. We see it already happening, okay? So Meghan is the central factor to everything that has caused Harry to lose so much, because this is not the only thing that he's lost. He lost things from the beginning. when he married this woman and when they left, because she does not bring any goodwill to anything. It's disaster.
Pete Diner, Hilary Rose of The Times suggesting this week that when the battle between William and Harry sort of, I guess, comes out in the wash, actually, William's silence is going to be seen as one of the most powerful things. And I was thinking about it earlier, Pete Diner. I was recording something for my Facebook page, actually. Please do go and subscribe to Dan Wootton on Facebook. It was one of my reaction videos on there. And I was just thinking about it, and it's like William and Harry have entered the Cold War stage. And Harry keeps thinking that the more outrageously he behaves, the more private interaction he has, the more he sues the British government, the more he says, I'm going to be staying at Buckingham Palace, that eventually he's going to cause his brother William to snap. And that William will either have to engage or have to publicly do something with Harry. He's really hoping. That's what he's really hoping. Now, what I'm hoping is that William doesn't buckle and this Cold War continues, just like what William's grandmother did and his great-grandmother, the late Queen Mother, did when it came to the dealing of the Duke of Windsor and Wallace Simpson following the abdication crisis. But I just want to show you Hilary Rose's argument. So do you agree, P. Diner, with this argument put forward by Hilary Rose and Roy Anika that actually it is the silence, it is the failing to engage, something which, let's just be honest, and we know his circumstances are different, but something that the king has failed on, is actually really benefiting Prince William?
I think absolutely. First of all, can I just address, they are worried about the cost, the cost of living crisis in Montecito. I mean, they didn't get 100 million from Netflix, but I think William...
the money is running out. Okay, Hilary, they're not as comfortable as you might think they are.
Not at all. But yes, I think William knows how to put things where they need to be because that's what he's been trained to do since he was a child, okay? He's going to be the future king, and he knows how to put things where they need to be because the public is watching, and William knows what to do. He's not going to fall into anything that Harry puts in front of him because he knows how to deal with his brother Harry. He's been doing it, so he's going to continue doing it, and he's going to continue rising in the polls. And he just has a way with himself that makes people, William does, draw to him because he doesn't engage into the soap opera things that Harry has tried to put out there. I think he's dealing with these things privately with his wife. He is choosing not to engage because it would just make things worse on the public stage. He's doing it in a very strategic way. And part of that is being quiet about it, but also, working with his PR people and, working on his own image. And I think the fact that we all know that William will never, I think, anytime soon forgive Harry shows us that William's good, okay? We understand where he's coming from. We know how much he doesn't want Harry back into his life without saying a word, really. We know this on William's side. So he'll continue dealing with Harry in a way I think that will even anger Harry to the point where he'll continue trying to, put things out there to engage his brother. But William is too smart for that. This is something he's been preparing for since a little child. So I feel very confident that William knows what he's doing. He's restructured his PR, his team, and things are going very well for them. And I mean, Harry is just a little peon in William's world, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, no,
William has big things to do later. Harry doesn't. What does his future hold?
Totally.
Really?
Totally. Exactly. As we've discussed, it's down to like, how do I use £5,400? It really is. There has been some pushback on William, though, not surprisingly, P. Diner, in the left-wing media over one of his big projects. This emerged over the weekend. Richard Palmer, formerly royal editor of the Daily Express, now writing for The Observer, which is like a left-wing newspaper in this country, and specifically targeting Prince William's homelessness mission, revealing that homelessness is rising in 4 out of 6 UK locations where Prince William has spent 3 years, vowing to show how to solve the problem by June 2028. That's not William's fault, of course, but it illustrates the challenge. The well-respected royal correspondent, freelance Phil Dampier, adding, "Hate to say, I did say some years ago he was being over-optimistic about solving this problem. Good to try, of course, but harder to achieve." And it's interesting, this issue of homelessness, P. Dinah, because it has become a political hot potato in the UK, given the new British Prime Minister, Andy Burnham, promised to end homelessness. He described it as rough sleeping, but that is homelessness. That is what's meant by homelessness in this country. Promised to end rough sleeping by the end of his term. Do you think William's made a mistake here by actually giving like a hard and fast figure rather than just saying, look, we're going to make a bid to end it. We're going to make a bid to bring it down?
Well, I think he's been pretty I think he's optimistic about the future.
Maybe
right?
overly optimistic.
Yeah, because I think there's a lot of factors even William may not even know about when it comes to homelessness. And I mean, I think he has a good idea, but there's just things that you can't really plan for. And I think giving, too much definitive information can make it could hurt you. But I would say, hey, you learn from mistakes and failures, and you readjust and you continue doing it. I think at the end of the day, he will pretty closely accomplish this goal. It may not be on the original timeline of things, but it will happen. I think if anyone can do it, William can do it because, there's a personal side to that his mother brought him into.
Totally.
And also, a side of him that, he's going to be the future king. He has connections. He's got the wherewithal to make that happen.
Totally. I was just going to say, P. Dinah, I don't think when it comes to homelessness, you can ever disconnect this with Princess Diana. And
right.
Why do you think William has made this an absolute overarching priority? Because he wants to do it for his mum. And what
Absolutely.
he doesn't do is he doesn't do those big, bold, emotional statements. I'm doing this for my mother. But that's why he did. That is why he did.
And a personal connection that he has.
Yeah.
To understand the controversy, we need to understand Sentebale. The organization was established by Prince Harry and Prince Seeiso to support vulnerable children and young people in Lesotho and Botswana, particularly those affected by HIV and related challenges. For Harry, Sentebale has been one of his longest-running charitable commitments. So, when an internal dispute erupted, it wasn't simply another celebrity disagreement. It involved an organization closely associated with Harry's charitable identity, and that made the fallout much more significant. Dr. Sophie Chandauka became chair of Sentebale during a period when the charity was already operating under intense public scrutiny. But relations between Chandauka and other figures connected with the organization eventually deteriorated. What followed was a very public dispute involving allegations, resignations, and competing accounts about the charity's internal culture and governance. And suddenly, a disagreement that might normally have remained behind closed doors became international news. This is where Meghan Markle enters the story. The controversy has been linked in media coverage to tensions surrounding Meghan and people associated with the charity. But we need to be precise. A disagreement involving Meghan does not automatically explain everything that happened inside Sentebale. And it certainly doesn't prove that every subsequent decision by Harry was motivated by Meghan. The public has been given competing narratives. One side may view the situation as a serious organizational dispute. Another interpretation is that personal tensions escalated into a much larger conflict. The evidence needs to determine which parts can actually be supported. As tensions increased, the dispute became increasingly public. Questions emerged about leadership, governance, and the future direction of the charity. Public statements from people involved only intensified the situation. Instead of a quiet internal disagreement, Sentebale suddenly became the backdrop for a very public battle. And Harry was no longer simply a patron associated with a charitable cause. he was being drawn directly into the controversy. That's a claim about motive. It suggests Harry wasn't simply responding to a dispute, but deliberately sought to punish Dr. Chandauka. But how could we actually prove that? If Harry made a decision following the dispute, that decision can potentially be documented. But proving that his private motivation was revenge is much more difficult. Unless Harry explicitly said, "I did this because I wanted revenge," we're dealing with interpretation. And that's why we need to distinguish between what Harry did and why he allegedly did it. Dr. Chandauka has publicly challenged aspects of the way the dispute unfolded. Her perspective is important because she was directly involved in the organization's leadership. Her criticisms and allegations need to be considered alongside Harry's position and the accounts of other people involved. This isn't a simple story where one side automatically has all the answers. There are competing claims about governance, conduct, leadership, and the handling of the dispute. And that is precisely why viewers should be cautious about headlines that reduce the entire controversy to one word: revenge. Harry and his representatives have also had their own perspective on the situation. From Harry's point of view, the dispute involves serious concerns about the direction and governance of an organization that he helped establish. That creates a very different interpretation. Under this version of events, Harry's actions weren't necessarily about revenge at all. They could instead be understood as a response to a serious organizational breakdown. And that distinction changes the entire story. And then there's Meghan. Her name has become almost inseparable from stories about Harry's public controversies. But that can sometimes make it difficult to determine where the evidence ends and the narrative begins. If there was a genuine disagreement involving Meghan, that should be examined on its own terms. If Harry later made decisions concerning Sentebale, those decisions should also be examined separately. Connecting every development to Meghan without evidence risks turning a complicated organizational dispute into a simplistic royal soap opera. Harry co-founded Sentebale and has had a long-standing connection to the organization. A serious dispute developed involving Sentebale's leadership. The controversy has been linked in some reporting to tensions involving Meghan. Harry's actions were motivated by revenge. Those four categories aren't interchangeable. And understanding the difference is essential if we're going to make sense of this controversy. Beyond the personal drama, there's a bigger issue. Harry has built a significant part of his post-royal public identity around charitable work. Sentebale has been an important part of that story. So a public leadership dispute raises questions about his future relationship with the organization and about how Harry's charitable reputation will be affected. For Harry's critics, the controversy may reinforce concerns about his management of relationships and institutions. For his supporters, it may demonstrate how difficult it can be to maintain an organization when internal disagreements become public. Either way, the damage isn't simply personal. But proving that Prince Harry's actions were motivated by a desire for revenge is another matter entirely. The strongest story isn't necessarily the loudest headline. The real story is what happened, why the dispute escalated, and whether the evidence supports the claims made by either side. And until all the evidence is clear, revenge remains a characterization, not an established fact. Now we want to hear from you. Do you think Prince Harry was responding to a genuine governance crisis at Sentebale? Or does the evidence suggest the dispute became personal? And how much of the controversy do you think actually involved Meghan Markle?